Hello, students. Today it is read 2 of Unit 1 Photograph. The poem of photograph is placed after the unit, the portrait of a lady, and it is because there is a thematic relation between the two. What is the thematic relation that you will understand first when I tell you the summary of this poem? There was a photograph pasted on the cardboard, and it shows two girl cousins, Betty and Dolly, who went paddling in the sea with the poet's mother. So you can imagine there were three girls, the writer's mother, and on either side, two girl cousins, Betty and Dolly. Each of them was holding one of the hands of the poet's mother, who was a big girl of some 12 years or so at that time. Her uncle had a camera, and all the three girls stood still facing the camera. They pushed their hair aside so that their smiling faces can be captured through the uncle's camera. Thus, the photograph presents three smiling faces. The face of the poet's mother is a sweet one. It was a time before the poetess was born. Their feet, which were being washed by the sea water, it was for a very short time and have been photographed along with the sea also, which appears to have changed less. The poet thus indirectly hints that her mother's face has changed over the years because when we are children, then our faces are radiant, but with the advancement of the age, faces do change. After a lapse of time, say some 20 or 30 years later, the poet's mother would laugh at the snapshot looking at this photograph. She would refer to the photograph and recollect how her cousins Betty and Dolly had dressed themselves for the beach when they went on the sea for a holiday. She laughs as she sees the scanty dresses. This sea holiday was an event of her past. Her laughter is real and pleasant for the poetess. It is a precious memory for her. Both her holiday and her laughter are amusing in an ironic way, as they are linked with laws which require for state of freedom from pain. Now the poet's mother is no more, and it has been perhaps 12 years. But this poetess feels at a loss of words to comment on this event, that is the death of mother. It is a solemn moment, and its silence makes her silent. Thus, the poetess pays a tribute to her mother in this poem. It is the old photograph that moves her to silence. So, this is a summary of the poem, but let's begin now. What has been there in the writing? A photograph. As I told you, photograph is in a way document of memories, right? Once you see a photograph of yourself, your friends are there or your family members are there, then after some time you look at the photograph, then a host of memories will come alive before your eyes. So any photograph, it is a document of memory. And here the photograph of mother is the document of memories of this died mother. The cardboard shows me how it was. Cardboard, you understand now. It was a cardboard and there was a photo pasted on it. So, here, cardboard, you can take it in the meaning of the photograph. Here, the cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands. And she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. See these four lines. The cardboard, and there was a photograph of the mother pasted on it. The poetess saw the photograph. And what was there in the photograph? There were three girls. Here is the mother, and here another girl. This is mother, poetess. This is, say, it was Betty. And again, there was one more girl. And the mother has two hands, and both the hands, this is a dolly, right? And they are holding both the hands of the mother. So, this is the photograph when the two girl cousins went paddling. Paddling, you understand? It is to swim in the sea sometimes, or it is walking with bare feet in shallow water, sea water, touching the feet. So that is paddling. So they were walking along the side of the sea and they were paddling, and each one holding one of my mother's hand. This dolly is also holding mother's one hand. This Betty is also holding mother's hand. And she, the big girl, somewhat 12 years or so, but this mother is bigger, and her age was 12 years. So this is the photograph, and the poetess saw it, some 12 years or so. Now, four lines have been completed, right? Let me ask you one thing. What does the word cardboard suggest here? What is it? Cardboard here refers to the molded photograph of the mother and her cousins, right? Another question, if I ask you, where did the girls go, and what can be the reason, or when? The three cousins went to the sea holiday when they were around 10 or 12 years of age. What feelings are aroused in these four lines? What feelings are aroused? Then these lines have feeling of love, togetherness, and innocent pleasure of the childhood, right? Because they are holding hands and they are having a nice time there. Moving forward, all three stood still. Still, you understand, still means without moving. Still means without moving. All three stood still to smile through their hair. Why through their hair? Uh, because there was strong wind and they wanted their smiling faces to be captured by the camera. So they were arranging their hair also. All the three stood to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face, my mother's. And now, what does the poetess say? When she looks at the face of her mother, she feels that it was a very sweet face. That was before I was born, and naturally, before the poetess was born, because the poet's mother was of 12 to 13 years old. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Again, all the three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. See, this is a sentence. Uncle was holding the camera, and all the three girls, they stood there still without moving, so that their beautiful faces can be captured through uncle's camera. A sweet face that is of my mother, and what is the time when I was not born? And what did the poetess see in the photograph? A sweet face of her mother. And then, and the sea also, it was visible in the photograph, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Here is something you have to understand. Transient, what do you understand by transient? Transient is which lasts only for a short time, or it is impermanent. It is impermanent. Transient feet, the feet are impermanent, and how it is terribly. Human life is not permanent. The mother and two other girls went to the sea some 20-30 years ago. Now, after 20-30 years have passed, when the poetess goes to the sea does not look to be changed that much. It is not changed. But what about the transient feet? Human life have changed. Mother has died. So the sea has not changed. But the things with the mother, things with the poetess have changed. That's why the poetess has written that, and the sea, which appears to have changed less. There was the photograph, and in the photograph, the sea appeared some 20-30 years back. It still appears now. It does not look so much changed. But see, what has happened with mother? She was a very sweet faced girl, some 12 years old. And now, when this poetess is looking at the photograph, the mother is not there, because human life is transient. So, the poetess wants to convey her sorrow, and in a way, she using this epithet wants to convey that human life is short lived, and she also wants to convey that she is very sad because she has lost her mother. Now you read these two lines. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, it does not look so much changed, was their terribly transient fate. And that sea washed their terribly transient, short lived, impermanent feet. So, you can be asked, or let me ask you, whose face is referred to here? Naturally, the sweet face of the poet's mother is referred to here. There is sweetness of childness on her face. What does the poet mean by the sea which appears to have changed less? The poet highlights the perennial and eternal characteristic of nature through this expression. And if I ask what is terribly transient fate, then you should write. The poet has used, see, here the poet wants to say that the sea is almost like permanent, but human life is impermanent. And now it is the second stanza. Here there are perhaps 9 lines. It is the first stanza, and in the first stanza, the girlhood of the mother has been described. And in next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 lines. Here, middle age of the mother has been described. See, some 20, 30 years later, when the photo was captured, she laughed at the snapshot. Mother was of middle age then. Some 20, 30 years later, mother was of 12 when the photo was taken. So it is 20 or 30, means 32 or 42, at the age of 32 or 42. The mother saw this photograph and she would laugh at the snapshot and she would say, "See Betty and Dolly," she would say, "and look how they dressed us for the beach." So mother is remembering her past when she herself watched this photograph. And she was very happy to see Betty, to see Dolly, and to memorize the things. When she was reminded the things, and look how they dressed up for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is laughter. When the mother was watching this photograph, it was sea holiday, and that was her past. Means, when the mother was watching the photograph, the sea holiday was past for her. But here, mine is a laughter, but the mother is no more. For me, my mother's laughter is past. Both Rai. Rai, you understand? It is disappointment. With the labored ease of loss. This one is something you have to understand. Both Rai. We both are Rai. Disappointed. My mother is disappointed because it was the past. It was almost like a nostalgia. Nostalgia, understand? When one reminds of the past and becomes emotional, it is nostalgia. And the writer, this poetess, is also disappointed because she has lost her mother. And how they are disappointed? With the labored ease of loss. This is oxymoron. Labored, you understand? Labored means tried hard, worked hard, easily. Loss, you understand? Loss, you understand? Now, see what happens. We work very hard. But sometimes we have to lose, or it is lost what we have gained. And it was lost so easily, and we have to let it go. See, mother lost her childhood. The poetess lost her mother. Both are right. Why both are right? Mother has lost her childhood. The childhood is no more for mother. And the poetess herself has lost her mother. Both are disappointed, but both had to accept it as it is the way of life, it is the way of nature. Nobody is permanent here. So, we gain something after hard work, and when the loss comes, we have to accept it easily. This is oxymoron, like bird and is. And now, the last four lines, it is about the death of the mother. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. In the very first stanza, it has been mentioned that the age of the poetess mother was somewhat 12 years. And these two lines is, now she has been dead. Mother has died nearly as many years as that girl lived. Means it is 12 years mother has died. And of this circumstance, there is nothing to say at all. And the poetess says, now what do I say? What is the circumstance? Which circumstance is referred to here? The circumstance referred to here is the incident of the poetess mother. And she says, but I don't have anything to say. It's silence, silences. I don't have to say anything. And there is silence. And that silence silences me and everything. The poetess says that I don't have any words. She is so sad in her mood, and she says that it's silence silences me. So, what is the mood of the poetess here? The mood of the poetess is here that she is very sad and she is very solemn. Now, I want to have your attention to two things here. See, read the very first line. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. See, the sentence ends here. So the sentence comes running here, and running here. This is called enjambment. The sentence is running through more than one or two lines. And one more thing that I want to say you, I want to draw your attention is, see, this is my mother's. So you can see that this M sound is repeated. If the consonant sound is repeating, then you know what literary device it is called? It is called alliteration. So it is alliteration found there. Uh, Again, there was some here also alliteration. Let me find it. Enjambment is also found here. See, some 20, 30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See, this sentence is continuous. So, this is called enjambment here. Here is also enjambment, right? See, it's silence is, this is what it is called, alliteration. So, these two literary device you should remember, and now I hope you will write down the answers that are found on the textbook. It is on page number 12, and there are 7 questions. I hope you will write down them. Thank you.